On the morning of the 15th of September, 1916, near the village of Fleurs on the Somme, 49 British officers and men climbed into steel boxes that had never been tested in combat. They were the crews of His Majesty's land ships, C Company, Heavy Section, Machine Gun Corps. Their mission? To cross no man's land under fire, crush German wire, and silence machine gun nests that had held the line for 2 years. This is the story of the Mark I tank, the first armored fighting vehicle to enter battle. It was slow, it was unreliable, it was revolutionary. Part 1. The Problem. By the winter of 1914, the Western Front had become a slaughterhouse without precedent. The British Expeditionary Force, which had landed in France with 120,000 men, was reduced to 80,000 by Christmas. German machine guns, the MG-08, could fire 500 rounds per minute. A single gun, properly sighted, could stop an entire battalion in open ground. On the 1st of July 1916, during the first day of the Somme offensive, the British Army suffered 57,470 casualties. 19,000 were killed before noon. Infantry could not advance. Cavalry was obsolete. The War Office needed a machine that could cross shell-torn earth, survive rifle and shrapnel fire, and deliver its own firepower directly into enemy trenches.
Part 3. Design and Construction. The Mark I was not a tank in the modern sense. It was a mobile steel box on tracks. Specifications. Male variant. Length is 32 feet 6 inches, including tail wheels. Width is 13 feet 9 inches. Height is 8 feet 1 inch. Weight is 28 tons combat loaded. Armor is 6 millimeters front, 12 millimeters on sponsons, 8 millimeters roof. Engine is Foster Daimler 105 horsepower petrol 6-cylinder. Fuel capacity is 50 imperial gallons. Range is 23 miles on roads, 12 miles cross-country. Speed is 3.7 miles per hour maximum. Crew is 8 men. Armament, male. 2 6-pounder Hotchkiss naval guns inside sponsons. 4 Hotchkiss machine guns. Armament, female. 6 Vickers machine guns. The hull was made of boilerplate, the same steel used in steam locomotives. It was riveted, not welded. The rivets were a weak point. When struck by bullets, they could shear off and ricochet inside the hull, killing crew members. The engine was mounted in the center. The driver sat to the left. The commander stood behind him. 2 gearsmen operated the secondary gearboxes, 1 for each track. 4 gunners manned the sponsons. There was no suspension. The ride was brutal. Inside, the temperature rose to 50 degrees Celsius within minutes. Carbon monoxide from the engine leaked through the bulkheads. Crew members wore chainmail visors to protect their faces from spalling and rivet heads. Part 4. Production. Production began in February 1916. 2 factories were used. William Foster and Company, Lincoln, 75 units. Metropolitan Carriage, Wagon and Finance Company, Birmingham, 75 units. Each tank cost 4,987 pounds, equivalent to 420,000 pounds in 2025. The first 25 were built as male versions. The next 25 were female. The final 100 were a mix. The tanks were painted in a disruptive camouflage scheme of brown, green, and gray. Each carried a name beginning with the company letter. C Company tanks were named. C-1, Crème de Mint. C5, Cordon Rouge. D11, Dinikin. Part 5, Training and deployment. The tanks were shipped to France in August 1916. They were loaded onto railway flat cars under tarpaulins marked Water Carrier for Mesopotamia, a deliberate deception. Training took place at Thetford, Norfolk, and later at Bermecourt, France. Each crew trained for 6 weeks. Breakdown rates in training were 50%. The commanding officer was Lieutenant Colonel Hugh Ellis. His second-in-command was Major J.F.C. Fuller, later the father of armored warfare doctrine. Part 6. First Combat. Fleurs Courcelette. Date, 15 September 1916. Location, between Fleurs and Courcelette, Somme. British forces, 4th Army, 14th Corps. German forces, 1st Army, 1st Guard Reserve Division. Order of battle. Tanks. 49 tanks assigned. 32 reached the start line. 17 failed to start or broke down en route. Timeline. 05:20 hours. 0 hour. Tanks move off behind creeping barrage. 05:35 hours. First tank, C5, crosses German front line. 05:45 hours. C5 reaches Flers High Street. German infantry flee. 08:40 hours. C5 disabled by track failure. Notable actions. D11, Diniken, towed a ditched tank under fire. C-19 was hit by a 77mm shell and brewed up, all crew killed. Casualties, 9 tanks destroyed, 20 disabled, 5 crew killed, 19 wounded. Territorial gains of 2,000 yards in some sectors, the deepest penetration since trench warfare began.
Part 7. Subsequent operations. Battle of Arras, April 1917. 60 tanks used, mud and mechanical failure limited effectiveness. Battle of Messines, June 1917. 72 tanks, supported the detonation of 19 mines under German lines. Battle of Cambrai, 20 November 1917. 476 tanks, largest concentration of the war. 350 reached the start line. Advanced 6 miles in 6 hours. Captured 8,000 prisoners and 100 guns. First use of fascines, bundles of wood carried on the tank roof to cross trenches. Part 8. Statistics and Impact. Total Mark I tanks built, 150. Total in combat, approximately 140. Average lifespan in battle, 4 to 6 hours. Crew survival rate, 68%. German countermeasures, introduction of K-rounds, armor-piercing bullets. Use of bundled grenades thrown into vision slits. Deployment of 13-pounder anti-tank guns. Psychological effect. German infantry often fled at the sight of tanks. The word panzer would later enter the language, but in 1916 the British had already created panic on tracks. Part 9. Evolution. The Mark I was obsolete by 1917. It was replaced by Mark IV, thicker armor, external fuel tanks. Mark V, 150 HP Ricardo engine, epicyclic steering. Whippet, fast medium tank, 30 HP engines. The French developed the Renault FT, the first tank with a fully rotating turret. The Germans built only 20 A7V tanks, too few, too late. Part 10. Legacy. The Mark I did not win the war, but it ended the dominance of the machine gun and the trench. It proved that armor, mobility, and firepower could be combined. In 1918, the Tank Corps was formed. By 1919, Britain had over 2,600 tanks. The concept spread. Soviet Union, T-34. Germany, Panzer III and IV. United States, M4 Sherman. Today, the Challenger 3 carries a 120mm smoothbore gun, active protection systems, and unmanned turret options. It can fire while moving at 40 miles per hour. Its armor is classified. Its crew is 2. The Mark I could not turn. It could barely move. But it started everything. Closing. Sound. Wind over a silent battlefield. A single poppy seed blows across the lens.
The last Mark I was scrapped in 1932. One survives, D-51 Deborah, recovered from a French field in 2017. It is displayed at the Tank Museum, Bovington. The men who crewed the first tanks are gone. Their machine changed war forever.